What's going on, everybody out there, and welcome here to North Freeway Hyundai, your #1 source for all your Houston area Hyundai needs. Now, on top of being Houston's #1 premier Hyundai dealership, period, we're also a #1 dealership for a completely different reason, and that reason is this vehicle sitting right here. Ladies and gentlemen, for your viewing pleasure and entertainment today, we are pleased to present to you all a full-on, in-depth walkthrough of the Chevrolet SSR. So with all that being said, we're prepared to offer you guys a full-on walkthrough of our SSR today, and this of course does entail a complete startup and overview of the engine, as well as a good look at many of the unique and notable styling cues and multiple features, technologies, and creature comforts that make up what is considered to be one of the most collectible, off-the-wall vehicles that General Motors has ever produced. So, now that we have that information in mind, let's go ahead and grab the keys, open this baby up, and let's see what makes the Chevrolet SSR so special. So to start things off, our particular 2006 SSR that we're looking at today is finished in a beautiful Pacific blue metallic. This 2006 model is also the last model year ever produced for the SSR, being the fact that this vehicle was only produced for about 2 to 3 years. And acting as a beautiful complement to this Pacific blue metallic exterior, our particular SSR's interior has been fully upholstered in the standard ebony ultra soft nuanced leather upholstery. And the moment you turn that key, you get that beautiful smooth growl of that 6-liter overhead valve V8. Direction to the SSR's front wheels is a simple yet fluid, hydraulically operated rack and pinion power steering setup. Feedback through the large leather-trimmed steering wheel is tight and precise when stationary, but can feel a little bit more loose and relaxed when actually driving. As for the wheel itself, it's a large 4-spoke multifunction wheel with standard controls for your speedometer-mounted display, along with cruise control functions as well. This is all finished off with nice lashings of matte silver trim, or in this case, with the bright chrome package being added to our vehicle today, a nice treatment of chrome across the top 2 spokes. Throughout the SSR's entire production run, a whole host of transmissions were available to go along with the standard V8 power plants. 2003 and 2004 models were either fitted with a Tremec 6-speed T56 manual transmission or GM's 4L60E electronically controlled 4-speed automatic transmission, ironically with the 6-speed manual being the optional transmission on the options list. Later on in 2005 and forward, GM updated the SSR's performance just a little bit, like this one here, replacing the older automatic with their updated 4L65E 4-speed box instead. The automatic shifts are smooth and comfortable, yet slightly lazy in some aspects, making it much easier to cruise rather than drive, compared to the manual, which can be a little bit of a handful at times and requires a pretty hefty tug to actually get it into gear. So now let's see about a good long look at the heart of this beast. Your power window switches are located right here, just behind the shifter. When the SSR was originally launched back in 2003, GM originally dropped in a slightly altered version of their 5.3-liter pushrod style V8 that was originally fitted to their bigger truck line. With 2 valves per cylinder and an all-aluminum design, it produced a rather healthy 300 horsepower and 335 pound-feet of torque, routed through a standard rear-wheel drive chassis that included a limited-slip rear axle and differential. Fast forward a couple years, however, and the SSR went under the knife again, but this time came back swinging hard. Later 2005 to 2006 SSRs came packing a whopping 6-liter all-aluminum V8, sourced straight from Chevrolet's muscle car, the Corvette. With this Generation 4 LS2 bearing the same pushrod design, 16 valves, and slight alterations, it pushed out a beastly 400 horsepower and 405 pound-feet of torque, allowing the near 5,000-pound SSR to nail 60 miles an hour in a roaring fast 5.5 seconds, compared to the tested 7.6 seconds from the 5.3-liter versions. Between the engine changes, however, the fuel economy stayed about the same, with the 5.3-liter rear-wheel drive model achieving an average of 16 miles per gallon city and 19 miles per gallon on the interstate highway, while the 6-liter LS2 SSRs rated about 14 miles per gallon in the city and 18 miles per gallon on the interstate highway, both running on regular unleaded fuels. So now it's time to hear the sound of pure America. Let's go ahead and give that big old 6-liter V8 a few revs and see what kind of soundtrack she can produce. Gotta love that beautiful, sweet American burble. Also, it's worth mentioning you really don't have to put that much pressure on the gas pedal to actually introduce some fuel into the engine. So now that we've unleashed a little bit of pure American sound into the world, let's go ahead and turn on the standard projector halogen headlights, push the button to turn on the fog lights, and turn on the hazard lights as usual. And now let's take this brief opportunity to take a nice long walk around to the SSR. Welcome to the Chevrolet SSR, one of the many vehicles you will find on the modern roads of today that is simply unmistakable. Providing the looks of the old school with a fresher, more modern twist, the SSR, or Super Sport Roadster, provides the thrills of an open-top vehicle with a V8 soundtrack that is simply to die for, while also having the usability on top of everything else as a light-duty pickup truck. However, to North Freeway Hyundai's owner Paul Peebles, the SSR isn't just a wonderful collector's item or just any other car on the road, it's the vehicle that actually set a lot of things in motion. In fact, if it wasn't for the SSR along with a couple of other vehicles he happened to have on hand, our friends at Exotic Cars of Houston wouldn't exist at all. So what is it that Paul saw in the SSR and its collectability that made it so popular for us today? Well, first off, let's take a look back to 2003 at the basics. Although being originally conceived on the drawing board back in 1999, the Chevrolet SSR actually began its physical production assembly life back in 2003 at General Motors Craft Center in Lansing, Michigan. Using almost all of the underpinnings from Chevrolet's Trailblazer SUV, along with a slightly altered 5.3-liter V8 from their truck division, General Motors built their own interpretation of a modern-day, retro-styled pickup truck, but with a bit more of a modern perspective. With a body-colored, power-folding hardtop thrown into the mix as well, it was a first for GM and most of the auto industry as a whole, creating a vehicle that was a lot more multi-purpose than an everyday ordinary car, a sort of split personality, if you will. The design of the SSR is just the right amount of retro-modern, starting at the front end with a long swooping hood that rounds off to a more streamlined shape that somewhat would hark back to the days of when trucks, cars, and even trains were designed more like aircraft and streamlined missiles more than automobiles. With the bold, round headlights that in some cases were upgraded to halogen projectors like our 2006 model here, not to mention vehicles equipped with the bright chrome package which has also been fitted to our SSR example today, this is one modern hot ride with a whole lot of old school attitude.
To really give the SSR some real curb appeal and add a little bit of bling at the same time, the entire lineup from 2003 to 2006 sat atop its own respective set of 19 and 20-inch aluminum alloy wheels, which in this case, like so many of the other pieces on this particular SSR you see here, are completely lavished with chrome and mounted on their own respective size tires. Unlike most other vehicles that Chevrolet produced around the same time frame, these were the only wheels that you could ever get on any SSR, regardless of how equipped back in the day. With two 55/45 19-inch tires in front and two 95/40 20s in the rear, the SSR had a stance that truly gave off that real hot rod look, with a slightly higher up rear end. Bringing the SSR to a halt, however, and sitting behind these massive chrome-laced wheels are a set of factory-ventilated steel disc brakes with multi-piston calipers in all corners. Even with a max curb weight approaching 5,000 pounds, the SSR could come to a full stop from 70 miles an hour in a tested and consistent 185 feet. A rather impressive feat considering the rather large curb weight and a length of nearly 200 inches from nose to tail. What brought the SSR to a complete halt altogether, however, was the rather sad closing of the Lansing Craft Center where the SSR had been produced from the very beginning. On November 21, 2005, GM announced that the center would be one of 9 assembly facilities that would close as part of a, quote, wide-ranging restructuring of its manufacturing operations. The SSR's production continued at a lower daily volume until GM shut down the facility on December 23, 2005. However, due to the large number of unsold 2005 and 2006 SSRs that remained on dealer lots, the plant remained idle until February 15, 2006, when the first of the final 826 SSRs to be produced rolled off the assembly line. These final 826 units received a unique waterfall badge as seen here, identifying them as being produced during the final production run. Going around to the back of the vehicle as you can see here, and also as a bit of an off-side note, one of the many things about this SSR in particular that makes it unique is the color choice. From 2003 to 2005, the SSR was offered in 5 separate yet very vivid and unique colors. These were known as Aqua Blur, Redline Red, Ricochet Silver, Slingshot Yellow, and Smokin' Asphalt Black. Then in 2006, GM added this very bright and very beautiful Pacific Blue metallic to the mix, bringing the total number of colors on the palette to 6 and the total number of colored options including the two-tone schemes mainly combined with Ricochet Silver to 12. Coming around to the back of this SSR also reveals a rather interesting rearward access, which you'll see in operation a little bit later on in the review. Being that the SSR's posterior is shaped more like that of a pickup truck, the vehicle features a standard drop-down tailgate that can be released from the inside and a body-colored tonneau cover that can be released via the keyless remote. This not only allows the SSR to maintain its sleek and aerodynamic shape and status on the road, but also prevents the SSR from being considered a true open-bed pickup truck. However, don't think that just because it's small in size and more suited for being a roadster that the SSR can't perform some lighter duties. Tested payloads have been as high as 1,350 pounds and towing has been as high as 2,500 pounds. So needless to say, if you need a vehicle that can cruise like a convertible yet haul like a truck, then the SSR can definitely be your multi-purpose vehicle. As a conclusion to the exterior walk-around portion of this review and rather lengthy history lesson on the SSR, it's worth mentioning that we've only just scratched the surface of the legend of this awesome collector's vehicle. It's also worth noting that we are the nation's #1 Chevrolet SSR dealer, period. You won't find more SSRs anywhere else than right here in our collection at North Freeway Hyundai. Ever since the advent of exotic cars at Houston, along with our outreach to all SSR owners far and wide who've generously sold us their vehicles in the past and continue to do so to this day, our inventory and appreciation for this wacky half-truck, half-roadster continues to grow to this day. Although you can find all the appropriate information on any particular SSR at our current inventory through our normal website at northfreewayhyundai.com, we encourage you to take a moment to also visit www.chevyssrforsale.com for a complete run-through on the SSR's history and a look at all our current inventory in stock.
So before we continue on with any other parts of our review today, let's go ahead and reveal the SSR's party trick, the power folding body color convertible top. Now first up, we'll show you the convertible top operating from the inside. To begin the process, you simply step on the brake pedal, then locate the switch that opens the convertible top, and just simply hit the lower button to fold it back. After the convertible top is fully put away, a series of ignition chimes will automatically play, letting you know that the roof is finally secure. And it's as easy as that. Now, being that this vehicle is technically a classic waiting in the wings, yet is still very much a modern day vehicle to this day, it still features all the standard powered amenities that you'd expect on a vehicle like this. You have your power mirror switch over here on the door. However, access to the power folding convertible top, power windows, and power door locks is all located right beneath the shifter in the center console. Now, it's also worth mentioning that in some cases, such as on our 2006 example here, the leather seats are also multi-way power adjustable. You have your manual recline via the lever here at the back of the seat. Powered lumbar support, you just push it forward or push it backward, depending on how your back may be feeling. You also have your power distance control, 2-person memory setting for the driver's seat, along with two function heated stages for the driver and passenger. Also, it's worth mentioning that on some models you can also get an upgraded stereo system, such as in this case featuring a fully upscaled premium Bose audio system. The door closes with a nice solid thunk, a little bit of a wiggle from the mirrors, but that's typical to be expected because these doors are rather large, being that there are only 2 of them. Now, albeit that this particular SSR was built in 2006, it still feels that this little roadster slash pickup has a touch of the old school. Everywhere you look, you still see modern conveniences such as your CD player, power radio, and so on, but you still feel that this truck still has a bit of that old school flair that Chevrolet wanted when first designing this vehicle a couple of years back. Now, first looking at the center stack, it's very easy to understand. You have a single zone air conditioning system, which in this case you can see has been outfitted with a sort of upgraded chrome system. These would normally be either polished silver or in black, but as you can see, the previous owner of this particular SSR has done up this center stack here with nice lashings of chrome, also across the air conditioning knobs and across the dashboard and parts of the doors. Now, the air conditioning system, you have your fan speed here in the middle. Air conditioning recycling is a little button at the bottom. Maximum AC, along with your temperature control on the far left-hand side. Also, all of your climate zones on the far right-hand side. And that also includes your rear defroster. Now, as far as the radio goes, as I mentioned before, this one here has been outfitted with upgraded Bose premium speakers. So of course you expect it to be pretty good.
Love Ran Red Tour.
And of course you have your volume button up here in the upper left hand. You have your rewind and fast forward, repeat, song list, random. You can also load your CD. This is a multi-stack CD player. Preset radio stations, your little LCD screen here, your band such as AM and FM, CD and auxiliary input, and also you can change the station via the 2 little buttons down here. Also an auto equalizer and auto volume adjuster. So speed proportional or speed adjustable rather volume controls as well. Also, this lower left hand button is just your simple tune scroller. Now, when I said that this truck has a little bit of a touch of the old school, it was more referring to the gauge pillar that's located right down here, way down in front of this painted portion here, just underneath the dash. You, of course, have your voltage on the far left, your torque, so it's an active meter. As you accelerate, the vehicle's torque meter will automatically rise. And then over there on the far right, in an odd twist, is actually an outside temperature gauge that's actually analog versus digital. Normally in a vehicle like this, you would expect it to show up, say, on the vehicle's information display. And also, speaking of that, as you can see, this particular SSR is very low mileage, having only done 30,170 miles. Now the gauge pod directly in front of you is very simple to understand. Large numerics, and that includes your tachometer, speedometer, and also your 3 separate gauges, which include fuel, oil temperature, and water temperature included. Also with a nice little SSR insignia in the upper left-hand corner of your multifunction gauges. Now as far as everything here on the steering wheel, it's very easy to understand. Over here on the left, these 4 separate knobs are all for the display up here in the middle. So you of course have things such as your trip meter, timer, outside temperature. You can change to different drivers. And you can also see your engine oil life and active MPGs. Very simple to use and very easy to understand. Now as far as aesthetics go in the interior, the dashboard feels a bit plasticky. It does feel a bit old school in terms of its aesthetics. You would think that this would be a little bit more plush, maybe like a leather or something like that. But again, this is 2006, it's not 2015, so you will find slightly firmer materials. A rather large grain though, might I add. Also your cup holders are in a rather odd place. You have them down here in the central part of the dash. You have a nice little tray down there as well. You do have 2 airbags. You have one right in front of the driver, one right in front of the passenger, and it also does include side impact airbags, which are located in each one of the seats. Now moving down the center console here, as you can see, most of the SSRs will have a body color matched painted central portion here in the center. That was either an option or standard. And as you can see on this one also, they've included a nice little placard indicating the final production run being in 2006. You've also got a nice little wind guard up there, a nice little mesh wind guard that you can actually lower or take off of the vehicle should you actually not want it there. Other than that though, the SSR really feels like an old school sport or sport roadster, which I can only assume that's what SSR means. Just actually feels like a really solid piece of American engineering, and definitely a true collector's item waiting in the wings. Absolutely awesome. So now with all of that being done, viewers, let's go ahead and turn off the engine. Just shuts down very easily. And with all that being done, viewers, let's go ahead and check out the rest of this beautiful SSR. Now one of the SSR's other neat little tricks is the fully functional split level back bed. You of course have the standard door which folds all the way down, but first to actually access that, you have a small little tonneau cover that covers the back portion of the bed, so it's technically not an open bed pickup truck. You simply open it up via the trunk button on the keyless remote. As you can see, that just pops the little tonneau cover up here, and raise that up. And in this particular SSR, as you can see, it reveals a black carpeted back bed with a nice bit of wood grain thrown in for an extra touch, and the optional SSR saddlebags thrown into the mix. Then to gain final access to the bed, all you do is pull up on the handle that's located in the center of the deck lid, and that automatically releases the final piece. Now these things are not heavy-duty pickup trucks, but you can pretty easily fit a good few things in the back of this thing. Then to close it, all you do, close the tonneau cover first. That then latches into place. Then you take the back bed cover, and that automatically closes it up. Also, as you can see on the passenger seat of this vehicle, you also have the 2-stage heated functions, also power distance control, power lumbar, and also the manual recline, just like the driver's seat that we saw just a bit ago. Now stepping into the passenger side of the SSR, Again, seeing that you don't have a giant steering wheel in front of your face, there is quite a lot of room here. I'm about 6'1" and I can stretch all the way out, and my toes actually are not even touching the floorboard. I'd have to extend my toes all the way forward in order to actually touch the end of the floorboard. So taller people will actually be quite accommodable in this vehicle here. Now also, one thing I did miss is this nice little center console here in the middle. As you can see, this vehicle carries all of its standard books. And that can also be locked via a small little key on the keylet on all of the keys when this vehicle is purchased. Now, as far as the glove box goes, it's not deep by any measure. It's actually quite small, but it is accommodable for things such as the books that we saw in here, or maybe a few other things such as maps or other reading materials. Overall, the Chevrolet SSR is a true classic waiting in the wings. For those who want a vehicle that was produced for a limited number of years, with collector value that will endlessly rise as the demand continues, then the SSR is definitely a vehicle that should definitely be on your collector's car shopping list. Absolutely awesome. So viewers, we hope you've enjoyed this rather in-depth look at one of our beautiful 2006 Chevrolet SSRs. Remember, we are the #1 Chevrolet SSR dealership in the entire nation, so if you're looking for one of these beautiful pickup trucks / roadsters, then don't hesitate to contact us. If you want to get a hold of one of these babies, you can get a hold of us either at northfreewayhyundai.com or come visit us on location at 20440 Interstate 45 North in Spring, Texas. Until then, guys, we hope you've had a great time when we hope to see you again soon. Take care, everybody, and have a good one.